Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alice Turner. I am the founder of Urban Tech, a technology-focused social enterprise based in North Hartford, and I'm also a track captain for TechStars. I am proud to bring to you the Navigating the Ecosystem segment and our esteemed guests. We are awaiting the arrival of one of our guests who has a meeting with the governor, but she will be joining us late in this segment. This particular session is all about navigating the ecosystem, in particular, Connecticut's ecosystem. I'm going to share my screen and help us have a bigger overview of what it is we want to accomplish during this segment. So here goes. So as you can see here, the screen navigating the ecosystem, our focus for this session is all about the resources that are available for startups. There are a significant number of resources, and we really wanted to have this session to let everyone know what is available so that you know that you don't have to go it alone. So we will have, over the course of this session, two people representing two major organizations, two major enterprises within Connecticut and nationally, share with us what programs and resources they have for startups. And then we'll also hear from two local entrepreneurs who will tell their stories about how they were able to navigate the system. So I want to get started by actually having a conversation about what is available. So let's have this level setting bit of discussion here first. And that is, when we talk about the ecosystem, I want to make sure we're all clear about what we mean by that. So at a minimum, when we talk about supporting startups and navigating the ecosystem, if you were think about it in terms of a word awareness or phrases that come to mind, for me, it's all about a community and it's all about network, but it's also about resources and programs. And so our focus is going to be more on the local ecosystem, Connecticut's ecosystem. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have an esteemed panel who will talk to us not only about the resources that their organizations offer, but we're going to hear from two entrepreneurs. So Marema Gutierrez is with the SBA, or the Small Business Administration. She will kick us off. And then we'll have a chance to hear from Nicole Hawkins with Legacy Lineage, Ted Chu. Oh my goodness, that's a typo there. It should say Horizon Services. I'll get that corrected. And then finally, we'll close out with Glendolyn Thames with Connecticut Next. So we're hoping that as we go along, you'll share your questions with us in the chat. If you have resources, those of you who are listening in that you're aware of that you can share with us, please also put those in the chat. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into it and hear from Marema Gutierrez with the Small Business Administration as she walks us through the programs and services that are available in Connecticut's ecosystem. So Marema, why don't you introduce yourself and then tell us about your services?
Sure. Thank you so much, Alice and your team over at URISE and TechStars for inviting me to be a part of this. We, as a federal government agency, right, we don't really do a good job sometimes of advertising and marketing our services because we're government. Nevertheless, we are one of the best kept secrets, I believe, because we have so many great resources and programs available to not only aspiring entrepreneurs, but also to entrepreneurs that have been in business for some time and have sometimes reached their ceiling and are looking for different services in terms of sometimes maybe even pivoting their business model. So what I can tell you is that we like to brag about, we are here to kind of be that kickstart, right, of achieving the American dream by offering these programs to you. And so with that, we have what we call the 3 C's. They come in the form of counseling, capital, and contracting. So I want to talk to you a little bit about our counseling services and how that works. So through our SBA cooperative agreements, we fund what we call our resource partners, and those resource partners are the Small Business Development Center, the SCORE, the Women Business Centers, and our Veteran Business Outreach Center. And all of the four partners that I mentioned have something completely different from the next in terms of what they can offer you. So with our Small Business Development Center, our Small Business Development Center in the state of Connecticut is housed under UConn. So just being housed under UConn, the university, you have access to so many more resources. So our Small Business Development Centers have about, I want to say anywhere between 15 to 20, I would say, advisors that work statewide. And they work, although they work with startups, they also work with they have unique niches in working with businesses that are already in business, that are looking to, like I said earlier, to either pivot, to export, they're looking to expand, they're looking, sometimes small businesses grow at a very rapid pace, right? And sometimes you don't have the capacity. So then all of a sudden it's kind of like, what do you do? Do you turn down an order because you don't have the capacity? So that's where one of our advisors with the Small Business Development Center comes in handy, because they can come, sit with you, analyze the situation at hand, and help you formulate a plan so that you can execute and move forward, and without turning down that business, right? And being able to bring in folks that are skilled to help you through those times, even if it's, for example, a temporary order. But nevertheless, that's what our Small Business Development Centers do. With our SCORE, we have over, I want to say, just with our SCORE mentors, we have over 300 in the state of Connecticut. And our SCORE mentors work in a very unique way, because the majority of them are retired executives, right, that have all this knowledge that they gained when they were maybe either running their own companies or perhaps overseeing large industries that, in manufacturing, whatever the case may be. So they bring real life knowledge to the table in helping you as a small business owner, either craft that business plan from the very beginning to get you into business, and as well to coach you through the life of the business as well. So you don't have to be a startup. You can also be a business that's already in business and just looking to do something different, or maybe bring in, right, different products or services in addition to what you're already doing. And so again, our SCORE mentors are also available for free. And because of COVID, all the counseling that used to get done in person is now being done online. So it's that much more accessible in terms of, when you are a small business owner, time is money, right? So you don't have a lot of time to waste, in terms of taking time away from your business to go meet with an advisor. So these virtual counseling sessions help quite a bit. So with that, with SCORE, just so you know, we have over 300 mentors in the state, and they're all licensed. So they have to go through training to be able to be a SCORE mentor. And I could tell you, we have 6 chapters in the state: Fairfield, Hartford, New Haven, Northwest, Southeastern, and Western Connecticut. So just about anywhere that you are in the state, you can definitely find an advisor. Our women business centers as well, again, offer a lot of technical assistance and mentoring, a lot of educational workshops as well. We have 4 in the state: Hartford, Naugatuck Valley, I want to say the southeastern shoreline in the New London area, as well as the southwest area in the Danbury, Stanford area. So that being said, again, a large percentage of I would say their customers are women entrepreneurs, but nevertheless, they also mentor men as well. Our Veteran Business Outreach Center, we have a regional Veteran Business Outreach Center. It's actually based in Rhode Island, but they serve all 6 New England states. And what they do is, for those veterans that are looking to get into business or looking for maybe resources, right, with maybe grants that may be available to veterans, our veteran business outreach centers have all that information available to you. And our veterans are really unique, I would say, in how they approach entrepreneurship, because a lot of them come out of, you know, their years in service and have a difficult time transitioning into the traditional workplace. So being an entrepreneur sometimes is kind of a no-brainer for them in terms of, you know, wanting to, you know, to take that leap of faith. Franchising, I want to say, is really popular among veterans because it's what we call business in a box. It's business models that are already created for you. So we have advisors that can come in and match you up with I would say, a franchise that I would say may work well with your skill set, and a franchise that is, you know, not already has not already oversaturated the local market. So that in the sense of counseling, just so you know, all these resource partners that I mentioned are all completely free. The only time you'll pay is if you're taking a workshop and there's maybe some software included or whatnot. But most of the workshops are also free of charge. So, you know, we like to say that we're the best kept secret, because the fact that you don't have to go out and pay thousands of dollars for a business mentor to put together a business plan for you, this is something where you take control of your entrepreneurial journey. You sit with the mentor. The mentor does not craft the business plan for you. You have to do it, but to have that guidance of somebody that's already been in business, perhaps within that same industry, to have that is a major plus. So that's the first C. The second C is that of capital. So we have financing and loans programs, and one of the things that I always like to let people know straight is, you know, right from the get-go, is we do not offer grants. So that's one thing that apparently way back in the day, you know, we did, but I can tell you that that has not happened in the last few decades. So grants is not something that we have, but we do have what we call an SBA guarantee. So we do not loan the capital directly. We work directly with SBA government guaranteed lenders. And in our state of Connecticut, we have about 60, I would say, lending institutions that are SBA guaranteed lenders. So chances are that the lending institution that you already have, maybe a savings or a checking account, is already an SBA lender and you don't even know that. So how it works is the SBA provides the loan guarantees directly to the participating lender. And so that loan guarantee can be as low as 50% and can go up to 90%, depending on the program and depending on the amount of capital that you're seeking. And again, we have programs that start at $1,000 with a microloan, from $1,000 to $50,000, and then we have other programs such as the 7A, the 504, the Veteran Advantage Loan. There's a couple more that are escaping me right now, but anyway, the loan can go anywhere up to $5.5 million. So it all depends on the program, and it also always depends on the use of the proceeds. And the use of the proceeds are always you know, revolving credit. It always has to do with working capital, right? If you're already in business and you're kind of at a capacity and you're seeking to purchase the existing building that you're doing business in, the 504 program is a wonderful program. It has the term is 20 years, and the interest rate is very low. And so it's a really good program for borrowers and for lenders as well. And just so you know, lenders like working with SBA and SBA loans because it gives them the guarantee that if something were to happen with your small business, they would in turn be compensated. So our lending institutions are not at risk of having a loan go bad 100% because they can recoup some of their losses. So what an SBA guarantee does, it reduces the lender's risk, right? So that's why they like us. It's a really good program for startups because when you're a startup, you really don't have those those, sometimes you don't have the balance sheets, you don't have the taxes to be able to show, what this business revenue has generated in the past. You're going by your financial projections in your business plan as the startup. And so that's where the guarantee comes into play, and it comes into play on a very nicely for the borrower and for the lender. Again, our guarantees also kick in when there's insufficient collateral, right? When you don't have that hefty down payment. And also, we have non-standard repayment terms. So that always helps, because you can't always, sometimes the lending institutions have shorter, I would say, repayment terms in terms of, years. And maybe with the SBA guarantee, we can extend it another 2. And so those are a lot of the, I would say, the advantages to having an SBA guarantee. And sometimes entrepreneurs don't even need the SBA guarantee. The lender will make that determination based on, the whole scenario. It's a package, right? So for example, if Alice and I were to go together to seek an SBA loan, to seek financing, we would probably walk out of there with different packages. And that would be based on sometimes the business itself, the business plan, the projections. It would be also based on collateral, on credit score. And so, so one of us might walk out of there with, I would say, a longer term, and one of us, might walk out of there with maybe, I would say, a bigger percentage in terms of guarantee. So there's not one size fits all. It's very, very open. And I would say sometimes subject to interpretation depending on the lender, right? And so that being said, we have this great program called Lender Match. So you can go online as an entrepreneur, go into sba.gov/lender match and put in, just fill in, I would say, a very short questionnaire in terms of, where you want to do business, what industry, and just some basic questions, and that will match you up with an SBA lender in your area. So that kind of takes out the middleman, which is us. So you will communicate directly with the lender that has already contacted you via email. So that's a really good way of streamlining the process and cutting out a lot of, I would say, the jargon, right? And the third C that I wanted to mention is federal contracting. So the federal government is the largest purchaser of goods and services in the world, right? A lot of folks don't look at the federal government as a customer, but what I can tell you is that if you think about it, we don't really make anything. We're not manufacturing things per se. We have to purchase everything, even the chair that I'm sitting on now. So all of that, we have to source it out, and we have to go out and find, someone that will, sell us this chair. And so when we buy, we also buy in bulk, right? So that's why we become a really good customer. And so we have special programs that are designed to help small businesses win at least 23% of all federal contracting dollars per year. So 23% of the, $700 billion pie is set aside for small businesses. And these programs help small businesses win federal contracts by winning your fair share, right? Being able to compete fairly for these contracts, qualify for exclusive set aside and sole source contracts, and partner with established contractors, right? Because sometimes you can bid on a contract. However, you don't have the capacity in-house, but that doesn't mean that you can't outsource with another small business in the area that produces a similar product, thus increasing, right, the opportunity for everyone in the community, to reap the benefits of this contract, and employing several people as well. So we have a business mentoring program and education to help you learn, the ins and outs of federal contracting, learning how it works. And although folks get really excited about federal contracting, what I can tell you is that if you are very, very new in your business, what we tell you is give it at least 3 years, right? Get set in the business that you have at hand, and then before you pursue going into federal contracting, because it is a large endeavor and it's very time consuming in the beginning to be able to get into the portal. So we want you to make sure that your business is running smoothly, that you feel that you have the capacity to take your business to the other level. So with that being said, Alice, I mean, I think I spoke a lot in terms of trying to keep the SBA as not being too cumbersome, right? Keeping it easy with our counseling, our capital, and our contracting, which are the three most major things that entrepreneurs flock to SBA for. And so I want to leave folks knowing that these programs are available. We have free training online classes, or, we're accessible as well. We have an office in every single state, within the United States. We even have an office in St. Croix. We have one in Guam. So we're everywhere. And so just so you know that if you're, looking to do business, in Virginia, I can help you locate the Virginia district office and connect you with someone there as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marema. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and there we all are. So a couple things. I wanted to know if anyone had questions for Marema, and thank her for sharing all this awesome information. As she says, much of what she shared is the best kept secret. So if you're viewing, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We will be sure to get to them. And again, Marema, thank you for sharing. I will just offer my quick little testimonial, and that is that when I started my business, my first business about 20 years ago, I actually went to the Women's Business Development Center that was at the University of Hartford at the Entrepreneurial Center. So I'm proud to say that's how I got my start. And it's like that good solid foundation that you need that just sets the tone for where you go from there. So thank you so much for sharing, Marema.
Absolutely.
I'm also glad to now welcome Glenn Thames. As I told you, she had a very important meeting and she's now with us. We're going to ask our other speakers to share their story about the ecosystem, how they have been connected to it, what resources they have used, and Glenn will be able to share with us following Nicole Hawkins with Legacy Lineage, and then Ted Chu with Horizon Services. So Nicole, why don't you go next? And we'd love to hear your story.
Great. Good evening, good afternoon, and thank you for having me as a part of this. It is very important that entrepreneurs do understand the ecosystem. My name is Nicole Hawkins. I am the head teacher and founder of Legacy Lineage Online Learning. My experience in early childhood education began 28 years ago, and I spent, I would say, 18 years working in center-based care. In doing so, I really developed the idea of really wanting to have low teacher to child ratio and decided to branch off into home daycare. In doing that, I would say as an entrepreneur, you do need support. So while I had an education and a background in early childhood education, I really did need the supports of the business world. Like you, Alice, I am an alumni of the University of Hartford Entrepreneurial Center program. I went through them and I found that there was definitely a need for anything that I was facing that I didn't already have the background in. So there were classes on QuickBooks. I got a chance to meet with a couple of lawyers and people who were able to help me navigate human resources and developing out some of the different approaches that I was looking at as I considered stepping out and probably trying to scale up in the future. I attended there, and I think I graduated in 2013 as a part of their small business development program. So after doing home daycare for about 10 years, I decided I would love to scale up and still try to take my business model and have classrooms that still had a low teacher to child ratio and be able to really engage with children and in a way that was different than normal childcare. I wanted to also encompass dealing with families and helping families. I'm located in the north end of Hartford and understand some of the issues that families in these urban areas have dealt with. So I really wanted to enrich families by offering services that encompass parent development, workshops for parents, and dealing with some of those issues that they were facing. In doing so, I think I started really with boots to the ground and community and partnership building, looking for areas where I felt we could put this and potentially affect many in the community. So in doing so, I went to several open houses at Swift Factory, reached out to Habitat for Humanity because I am a Hartford Habitat for Humanity homeowner, and understanding the families that they service and the demographics, I felt like it was a good connection and a good partnership. From there, during some of the community workshops and open houses, I was introduced to Reset. And Reset for me was a wonderful organization, especially in terms of scaling up. I was able to be a part of their 2020 Impact Accelerator program, which really helped me. It was like a weekend intensive going and having resources, mentorships, relationships, building out that business plan, understanding what actually scale up would require of me, putting me in touch with community leaders and also people from like Marema with the SBC, and helping me to understand exactly what was out there to support me. In doing that, all in the midst of this, 2020 is when we had the pivot and COVID-19 came. So it was like being a part of this, I was kind of like, wow, what are we going to do from here? We were meeting every weekend. I'm sorry, not every weekend, once a month. And it was really an intensive program. And I really knew that I needed those supports. But Reset did not miss a beat. Just as it was time for a pivot for us with business, they were also pivoting, and we began to go into a virtual offering, which it helped me because here I had to birth now, how do I go from offering services that are traditionally in person, engaging children and families, to now understanding that the demographic, the neighborhood had a need for early childhood and for education services, especially once school was abruptly ended. I think the other important issue for me was understanding that there was already a pre-existing achievement gap, understanding that parents were not going to have services such as birth to 3 and some of the other important intervention services, and wanting to be present so that they could have a virtual education platform that they could leverage and support them in their homeschooling. So as we're going through the business program, I'm now pivoting my services and having them to support me with social media help. What is it now to be able to market and to reach families? How do I need to build out some of those community relationships? And not only community, I would say virtually, you understand that your reach can become a little bit larger. And so maybe looking at people who were also looking at educating young children and helping families. For me, it was also a big issue because I understand that the north end of Hartford and some of the urban areas were more disproportionately affected by COVID-19. So I really wanted to look at a way to pivot and show up and be able to engage families. So Reset was an awesome resource for me that, again, had I not put boots on the ground and got busy working and let my why drive me, I don't think I would have come in contact with them. And they have been really supportive, and even pivoting and understanding I need to show up virtually. What are some of the social media resources that I need to be using? It really helped me to now have an online learning resource for families. I would also say it engaged me with other businesses and other entities that were looking at community and wealth evaluation, women and people of color, and how we need to build up wealth and assets for them. And so now I'm currently a community evaluator with the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, which I really think it's important conversation to be had right now, so that women and people of color can understand the resources that are out there to help them better grow their wealth and look at asset building. So that's been my experience, and I'm still connected with Reset. And that's the other thing, being now an alumni, I am still able to have that umbrella. It connected me with so many important moving pieces that I definitely needed in my desire to grow and scale my business up.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Nicole. What I appreciate about your story is that, like me, you started out at the Entrepreneurial Center, and I realize now we also share our Reset Accelerator Impact experience. But I think what I hope everyone will take from your story is how important it is to keep the conversation, keep the relationships going, and to keep building, and most importantly, to keep learning. And that's what I love about your story, is that you were exposed to these programs, but you continue to learn, you continue to build. And that's such an important part of a startup story is that after the training is done, there's still much more work to be done. And the partnerships and the relationships that you get when you start in those programs are just really laying a foundation. There's just so much more to that.
Definitely
So,
agree. They certainly showed me how to be resilient in business as well. You know, that you
yeah,
can't just give up. Now we have this pivot, but if you're going to show your business is really ready to scale up and grow, where's that resiliency to show that I'm ready to meet these new challenges?
right. They keep going.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so we're going to hear from Ted. Ted is an experienced entrepreneur with Horizon Services, and he's going to share his story about another way of building your business and creating relationships. And then following Ted, we're going to hear from Glenn Thames with DECD and talking about Connecticut Next programming. So if you have questions, folks, please put them in the chat. Once we hear from Ted and Glenn, we want to be able to answer your questions. So please talk to us, talk back. Ted?
Hey, thanks, Alice. It's good to connect again. We connected recently at a tech event for the federal funding for research. Yeah, I know we've known each other for 20 years, and I think our relationship is an example of what we try to practice. I'm the president of Horizon Services Company. We're a facility maintenance firm out of East Hartford. This is our 29th year, and I'm here to describe what a mundane kind of Main Street business has engaging the ecosystem. And over the years, I think we've been quite successful. It's funny, the SBA, Morema is here. We've been involved with the 8A program, with lending, most recently with the PPP, and same with DECD. Many of the initiatives over the years, I've seen many of the changes. I've always kept in touch and, tried to be, the Connecticut Main Street poster child of engagement, and, in our 29 years, we've had a good 4 pivots, in our business model every time we keep growing. And for the kind of business that we're in, pretty mundane facilities, we've had 3 tech ventures. So, the first few were pivots in itself, right? We got involved with web, with apps, now robotics, and we're looking to do a national rollout with a franchise. But every one of those has caused us to reach out to get talent. It's either programming talent, management talent, or entrepreneurial talent. We have a lot of people that we venture with, we connect with as vendors or W-2 employees, and we're always looking to bring on more. And in the very least, we have strong, general adaptation of technology. So we're here for Techstars, and I'm here looking to learn and also look for resources. I'm always amazed at how Main Street is conspicuously missing. When we see, at Horizon, we see Techstars as an opportunity for us to do our R&D. And you may ask, what do we have to do in facilities for R&D? My belief is, if you don't do your own R&D, somebody's going to come and disrupt you. We've seen it with what's been going on the last 6 months. A lot of people without revenue, with their whole industry disrupted. Now, if several years prior you were engaged in disrupting yourself, whether you start to move your Main Street business into the digital world, or even delivering it in a digital manner that creates a whole new different type of business that consumers want more, that's your job as well. That's your job is to disrupt yourself, or somebody will do it for you. And part of everybody's time, is to do that R&D. And I do that R&D by talking with people, getting other resources, doing pivots before I really need to do the pivot. Sometimes, wrecking, my own profit stream, if I can do something more efficiently, with an app, with a procedure, sometimes changing, the ways that people do business, and then you can support it with the technology later. Those all qualify with as R&D. And I think a group like Techstars and what several those that have been mentioned are all the things that as Main Street and the startups that we have, those are all resources that will reduce our R&D costs. But back again to why I think Main Street is conspicuously missing. A lot of times it's always back to working in the business and not on the business. And a lot of people will say that recently over the years, but it really is difficult. I think to continue to work on your business means that if you can get some good revenue stream and make sure your business isn't being attacked. And a lot of people have challenges with that and continually have them working in the business. So very much I see the need for the continual the SBA, the support that we've seen as the many stages we've had along the way with the SBA, and probably the future, which is what we will see in some of the conversations I've been having at Techstars. You got to get that R&D. That I always give the example that if many of the businesses who got put into bankruptcy or got obsolete, put into obsolescence, had a chance to rewind it back 5 years to do the R&D that they should have done, a good half would definitely jump at that chance, and then the other half would say they're just too busy, too busy to save their own extinction. Again, this is this unprecedented times is a great chance to reflect on this. And I think the only, the main thing I wanted to add as Horizon is that perhaps with the exception, I talked to a lot of my peers, in the diverse and, veteran-owned area, which Opus is a group that we've organized, gets together. We have our Zoom calls every week, and we talk about these topics of doing pivots, Main Street business, doing R&D in order to survive. It's a requirement. It's not a luxury. But back to my example is that we are that we're somewhat of an exception, and we wish that there were more people having these conversations, utilizing the resources, engaging the human capital that's out there that's largely underutilized in Connecticut, and especially married up to more experienced entrepreneurs and married up to some of the larger organizations. Alice, that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah. Well, actually, you've set it up very nicely. You talked a lot about the importance of tapping into resources to help with research and development, or R&D as you call it. And I can honestly say that I had the pleasure of working with Connecticut Next, and Glenn Thames is now going to share the story of the resources that are available for startup entrepreneurs who are looking to do R&D in their ventures. And so I agree with you, Ted, that is an important part of what we as startups need to do. And I'm going to ask Glendolyn, but I call her Glenn, in the interest of time, to talk to us about the resources that are available through Connecticut Next that can help those folks that are looking for not just R&D, but just other resources to help build their startup. And Glenn, if you don't mind, we have a question from someone related to how would you rate Connecticut's ecosystem? Would you be willing to start with that, and then I'll screen share and you can share the resources that you have offered. Can you take that as a question first? How would you rate Connecticut's ecosystem?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Alice, and to the entire TechStars team for hosting this. I apologize for my tardiness. Sometimes my schedule can be unpredictable. And as you can imagine, the Department of Economic and Community Development has been eye of the storm relative to the ongoing health and economic crisis that we are going through. And so I was actually with the governor announcing a $50 million grant program focused on small businesses and some of our smallest businesses, utilizing some of our CARES Act dollars for those businesses that have been hardest hit through the pandemic. So I just wanted to give that quick plug, if you will. So
That's a good plug. Thank you for sharing. You heard it here first.
Yeah, right. So going to your question, how would you rate the ecosystem in Connecticut? I think that's a lot to unpack. And I know, there's a lot of national kind of, surveying and rankings are what have you on that note. And, I'm happy to report that, it's well documented the unique assets and capabilities that Connecticut has in performing innovation and entrepreneurship. So Bloomberg comes out with their annual innovation in district index rather. And so when you look at our R&D spending, risk capital, our K through 12, talent pipeline in the STEM fields, we have ranked, consistently in the top 5, and more recently this year moved up to number 4 nationally as one of the most innovative states, according to Bloomberg. And so, on that measure, I think, we perform really good and we have a lot of assets, but the challenge is how do we really plug into those assets, enable those assets, and create the conditions to really ensure that early stage companies and entrepreneurs can start, grow, and thrive in our state. And so that's really been a core mission and goals and objectives of the CT Next organization over the last several years. So that's how I would answer that question.
All right. Well, I'm going to thank you for answering that question. I know I put you on the spot, but I appreciate you for handling it so well. So I'm going to go back to the screen share so you can talk us through the programs that, as you know, I've had the benefit of and others now will know, because that's really the goal of the session, is to make sure that all of Connecticut's entrepreneurs are aware of the resources that are available to them. So here we go.
Great. And I just want to say thank you to Nicole and Ted for sharing your story, because again, it's always so moving and powerful to hear the stories of our entrepreneurs that are on the ground in tangible ways and how they've been able to tap into the resources that we've enabled and provided. And I know not everybody knows how, the interplay of all the resources, how they get funded, or, that they're associated with the state or what have you. But so I'm always moved to hear, people who have tapped into resources that we've supported, because we act like an invisible hand to some extent. So thank you for all of that you do. So on that note, just to back up a little bit, I'm Glendolyn Thames, Deputy Director of the State Department of Economic and Community Development. I have a dual role. I'm also the interim executive director of CT Next. And CT Next is a quasi-state agency, that has been charged with developing and really cultivating an entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem in our state. And we do this in sort of 2 distinct ways. We provide direct funding and support to entrepreneurs as they start, grow, and scale their business in our state. But then we also provide funding and capacity building, I would say, to organizations around kind of all the non-capital things that, entrepreneurs need. So when you think about a reset, as Nicole kind of laid out, When you think about, the Techstars Accelerator, those are the types of activities and programs and initiatives that we fund statewide to support that necessary collaboration and convening of talent, ideas, and capitals that then yield commercialization and a healthy ecosystem, if you will. So one of our primary kind of anchor programs is the Innovation Places program, and this is really a place-based ecosystem program. And so we have 4 cities who have been designated as Innovation Places. That's Hartford, New Haven, Stamford, and the New London Groton area. They were, designated as kind of highest, potential given their unique access and assets and capabilities and their economic drivers. So in Hartford, we've been really kind of cultivating and focused on building on our strengths in the insurance tech industry, as well as advanced manufacturing. In New Haven, we've really been building on our strengths in bioscience and IT, data analytics more broadly. In the Stamford area, digital media, data analytics, fintech. And then in the New London Groton area, given, on the coast, undersea, maritime, and kind of the blue economy. So that's kind of how we sparsed up, those 4 innovation places and really kind of driving investments to be the center of the universe and centers of excellence relative to those industry sectors, and really being able to not only cultivate, small startups, if you will, but the connections with our larger new ideas and scale-ups, if you will. Next, we have, CT Next Mentoring Network, where we're bringing together serial entrepreneurs, former, entrepreneurs, and other subject matter experts that your goal as you kind of developed your, business, being able to access that mentoring, being able to access people who have been there, done that, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And so really trying to create a bench of that talent that we can then pair with our entrepreneurs to help them along the way, and really kind of building that social capital, if you will. On kind of the direct funding support, we have a few different programs where we have our Entrepreneur Innovation Awards, our EIA, which Alice has been a recipient of those grants. These are small $10,000 grants, sort of like our Shark Tank style program, where companies can come pitch a specific project that they have that's really going to help them move the needle, right? The project you're proposing is really going to get you from point A to point B. So you have an opportunity to access some non-dilutive, really kind of risk-free money to help you prove out your concept or any type of development that's going to help you, again, scale your business and grow your business. We also have growth company grants, and these are, again, direct to companies. These are for more of our kind of scale-up companies. So you've kind of demonstrated, you have a product, it's working, you're experiencing revenue growth, that you then can access up to $25,000, again, for a specific project that's really going to help turn the corner and help you further your growth on your life cycle. I'm going to skip down a few because I'm going to stay focused on kind of our direct to company resources. We have our SBIR Acceleration and Commercialization Program. Many of you may know, but there's a lot of people that don't know that there are billions of dollars of federal, R&D money at the federal level, right? That they give out every year to help entrepreneurs and innovators really prove out their concepts, do feasibility studies that are aligned with their priorities. So from DOD to NIH, to the Department of Ed, each federal agency has their own kind of unique SBIR program. And so this state program is designed to make sure that we are creating access and awareness to help our Connecticut companies get their fair share of those billions of dollars of R&D money at the federal level. And so we provide reimbursement. So to the extent that there are conferences that are happening regionally or nationally where you can go and learn and meet program managers at the federal level, we will support that effort and reimburse for the cost associated with you going, because this is very much about education opportunities. We also have a consultant on deck, BBC, that is a national leader in SBIR grants and understands the detailed, tedious process of the federal application process. And so they do workshops with us, and they also do one-on-one consultants. So if you've identified a grant opportunity at the federal level for phase 1 or phase 2 that you want to go after, we can pair you with one of our BBC consultants that is really going to help strategize and walk you through that application process so you can then access those federal awards, if you will. Next, we have our Technology Talent Bridge program. This is really all about literally bridging the talent gap with our smaller companies. We know that our bigger companies have access and the infrastructure and resources to recruit all over, right? Your UTCs, your Boeings, or what have you, this is what they do. But we know that our smaller technology companies and innovative companies do not have those same resources. And a lot of the talent that is coming out of our higher education system may not necessarily be aware of the startup opportunity, right? And what that looks like and what that means, because all they see is kind of the bigger name, larger corporations that, you know, are on their college campuses recruiting. And so this program was really designed to connect our smaller innovative companies with our higher education institutions and creating a pathway for talent and access. And it acts as an apprenticeship program more than like an internship program. So to the extent that a company has a near-term hiring need, we will essentially match funding to support you taking on a junior in college or senior in college and putting them in your place of business and kind of trying before you buy. So where our goal is that if you have that near-term hire, you bring this, you know, student on that by the time they're ready to graduate in 18 months, 12 months, you can offer them a full-time job, but we've kind of subsidized that onboarding cost for you. So this is a really unique program. It's one of our more popular programs with our small innovative companies. And also just going back to kind of more of the ecosystem building program, we also have our higher education initiative, which we're really, you know, Connecticut has a robust network of public and private independent colleges. We have over 40 critical mass of human capital that we are literally churning out every year. And we want to make sure that talent is connected with opportunities, but it's also we're retaining that talent and also creating opportunities for young people who are at our universities to be entrepreneurs and introducing them to that, and to the extent that they have ideas, proof of concepts that they're working on in the higher space, whether they're student-led and or faculty-led, because we know a lot of research and commercialization opportunities we see start in the university setting with a lot of our postdocs and professors. And so we're really putting investments in our universities to create that level of commercialization and opportunities, if you will. Last but not least, I do want to mention our Business One Stop. And so Business One Stop, we recently launched a seamless way for businesses to access how to start their business, manage their business, and then also get connected to resources. And so this is really a statewide effort. This has been a part of Governor Lamont's administration and our digital kind of front door, and really kind of moving the state government to a digital environment. And so this Business One Stop is really transformative and the first kind of MVP and iteration of that. Because again, as you hear about all these different resources that I've just said, and many resources that I haven't even gotten to, and what my partner over there, Mariah, at the SBA, this One Stop is really again, if you're starting a business, managing a business, this is the portal for you to access resources that can help you all along the way. So I really encourage people to check it out. And again, stay engaged, because this is the first iteration, but we're going to be building it out over time, because at the end of the day, the future state is really this seamless, user experience for our businesses, where you can enter and get everything that you need that's relevant to your businesses, and literally one stop, if you will. So, and last but not least, there's a website here on the slide that really kind of takes you to the whole ecosystem and the overview, because again, while these are some of the highlights of programs, we support many different organizations that, again, we act as this invisible hand. And so that ecosystem guide really helps kind of map out all the different resources, some of which we support, some of which we don't, but it's really meant to guide people through what's available to them. Because again, I think, our biggest challenge right now is not the lack of resources. It's really about how do we connect and how do we make sure people are engaging in those resources, are aware of those resources, and that they're valuable resources for them. So with that, I know I've talked a lot. I will stop there, and hopefully there's some questions and for me that I'm happy to engage with, but I just wanted to provide an overview and some highlights of what's available. And this is just, again, the surface, because we have many partners, down to the Women's Entrepreneurship Center that Nicole mentioned as well, the Women's Business Development Council, the Small Business Development Center. It really runs the gamut. And we really try to leverage each other and really partner and do referrals as we engage with businesses to help them prosper in our state. So thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And as you said, this really does just scratch the surface. There's just so much information to share. And wouldn't you know, our time has gone by so quickly. We do have a few questions that unfortunately we're not going to be able to get to because our time is limited. But what we're going to do is get the questions to both Glenn and Morema, and then be able to respond to them and share them with everyone who has participated. But I can't thank you all enough for sharing your time with us. I'm especially grateful to Nicole Hawkins and Ted Shu of Horizon Services. And thank you for sharing your story, and hopefully it's helping others know that the resources are out there and the relationships are out there to be made, and they just need to get to it. So all of us are on LinkedIn. If you want to reach out and connect with anyone who has been a part of this call, again, because our time is short, we're not going to be able to get to the questions. Just reach out to any one of us through LinkedIn. We're all available through there. But once again, thank you, Morema Gutierrez of SBA, Glendolyn Thames with Connecticut Next and DECD, and of course to our entrepreneurs, Nicole and Ted. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.